there is a massive recalibration needed when it comes to crypto cycles. And as a crypto Bitcoin analyst, I've been going through my own journey in adjusting my outlook, my approach to these markets. I think it has to be. As we get new data, specifically incredibly new, very strong macroeconomic data, I think we need to reevaluate, especially someone been doing videos almost every day, tracking these markets for over 6 years now on this YouTube channel. It's needed. And I want to explain why that is. But please know, this is right now, this is like a real-time process that I'm going through. The chart that you see here is a work in progress, but I really wanted to start documenting it as it kind of maybe morphs into something or matures into something as a long-term roadmap for myself. So this will be initially released on Substack, but it will definitely go on YouTube as well. But I thought for this month, to kick off January 2025, Substack would be really nice for my paid Substack people. So let's talk about this. So I'm calling this the Bitcoin Scarcity Recalibration Model. And before we kind of dive into what I have going on so far, I want to set the tone, because foundational to that is this new era that crypto is in. And this is why I'm readjusting my charts. And I want to set the tone by just showing you this post. And this is from 2021, May of 2021. New York Stock Exchange listed the first gold ETF in November 2004, and the price never came back. We may never see this Bitcoin price again once ETFs are approved. This was in 2021, okay? Please note, if we go look at a Bitcoin chart, the Bitcoin ETF was approved 2024, January 2024. So as we start diving into this now, I want to go and I want to look at gold. There's the gold ETF. This was a gold ETF in 2004, and look at the chart. So this is just number one, okay? And I want to make a note of something. I charted this chart kind of at the beginning of my technical analysis journey in Bitcoin. This was after surviving the bear market and doing videos almost every day in that bear market. And you can just see price of Bitcoin was like $3,500, and I had all the speculative outlook. And this is what's actually going to be readjusted at this moment. Speculative outlook for maybe a swing high of 90,000 in the 2021 bull market. We got close, 70,000, which is not bad. Then we fell into a bear market, and you can see speculatively I had like 20,000. We got close, I think just below 20,000. And now in this bull market, you can just see Bitcoin making its way. We just broke 100,000. And I had a $281,000 target. And what's crazy is that is in play this cycle. But this whole chart, and it's going to still be useful, I'm not getting rid of it, needs to be updated, I think, a little bit. So I want to discuss this. So remember, gold ETF, what happened? It was a new era for gold. Now, Bitcoin ETF, January 2024, I think is going to be a new era for Bitcoin. And so what I have here is this box. And it's pretty light, but you see this box here, and that starts at January 2024. And I have it named a global liquidity shift, because it's not only the ETF, but I don't know if you all noticed or not, everybody, but especially going through the elections, Bitcoin has become a mainstream global narrative. It is an asset class that finally, after all the speculation that it's been through, and even when I was charting this back then, and this is what the chart looks like now, all that speculation, now Bitcoin is here, and governments now are interested. We have our first pro-Bitcoin president coming into play in around 16 days, a Bitcoin US reserve. Can you imagine this? So it's not just the ETFs and institutional inflows and everything that has begun right here, but it's also this global liquidity shift. We're going to see a liquidity shift, maybe from gold even, into Bitcoin, this brand new scarce asset. So that's number one, kind of foundational to this chart, this Bitcoin Scarcity Recalibration Model. My favorite part about this chart, and I'm going to get to it in just a minute, is the upper trend line. And you've seen models across crypto space. They all look different, but kind of the same, right? It's just kind of like this parabolic chart with maybe a diminishing return upper trend line We all have seen them. There's so many different models. And, this was kind of my own that I did back here in 2018. It's very simple. But going to this chart, we have now, I would say, milestones, right? So I have $500,000 on here, hyper-Bitcoinization catalyst, because I think that $500,000 narrative came from a clip I saw the other day, which was some institution, I believe it was, just talking about the potential for a $500,000 Bitcoin. Or somebody was talking about a $500,000 Bitcoin with the Bitcoin US reserve. And I think that number is just a hyper-Bitcoinization catalyst. We're going to see Bitcoin enter this new era. And I think hyper-Bitcoinization is a very good title. As fiat money becomes weaker, Bitcoin becomes more scarce. Imagine US buys 1 million Bitcoin via this Bitcoin US reserve plan. There's only 21 million Bitcoin. Imagine if other US governments follow, as institutions now have their ETFs and they're just buying and scooping up. The price of Bitcoin is going to fly. And so $500,000 is a nice catalyst. Maybe years ago, when I was charting this even at around $3,500, maybe years ago we could have said that $100,000 would be the catalyst. Well, we're at $100,000 now, and the supply shock is just beginning. So this is the starting point of why I think, man, I need to start rethinking this chart, or at least getting new perspective and new speculations on here. And so what I mean by that is hyper-Bitcoinization, $500,000. That's up there, right? And I'm gonna wrap all this together in a moment. Digital gold, revaluation, around 900,000. That is the price of Bitcoin when it flips gold in market cap. That's a story playing out right now. 900,000. A lot of people are just like, hey, 900,000 is a given as we enter this new age of technology and we shift from traditional gold to now the digital asset gold, Bitcoin. So digital gold revaluation is up here at 900,000. And then we have an exponential value zone, because I saw this was, I think, an institution, I forget who it was exactly, but just talking about the Bitcoin US reserve, I believe it was, and Bitcoin going to $3 million. I have on here 2 million, but this is that level where it's on the long term. And by the way, they were saying by 2050, not like, not by 2030 or something, but like by 2050. But that's the exponential value zone. Bitcoin will be reaching for that area through all of these milestones. Now, if we're looking at this, the biggest thing that I noticed right off the bat, and as I was starting to mark these areas, that's why I was kind of like, man, I need to readjust at least perspective. At least give us a different roadmap on top of the one that we already have, this one that I charted back here in 2018, bear market lows. I wanted to add to it now. And the reason why is because of this last point that I have on the chart. And I'm sure there's going to be more added here, but it's this: the ceiling to floor flip zone. And this is kind of what gets me most excited, not only for Bitcoin, but for crypto. This is about Bitcoin, but this very much applies to crypto. Crypto will be soaring. The innovations that are happening in the crypto space will be just going parabolic and global. But it's the ceiling to floor flip zone. What that means is we have our ceiling, the diminishing return upper trend line. But look how this diminishing return upper trend line, like when you take into context everything we just talked about, the digital gold revaluation at 900,000, you can just see how this upper trend line just doesn't make the cut really. And so that's why I was like, there needs to be a recalibration of this chart. And it's not to say we get rid of this thing. It's not to say we change this, but we add things to it. And so one of the biggest things that I've added to this chart so far is definitely the ceiling to floor flip zone. And what that means is, yeah, that's a ceiling right now. And I don't know if it'll be this cycle or next cycle, whenever it will be, as we reach for hyper-Bitcoinization catalyst, digital gold revaluation, exponential value zone. Notice Bitcoin price will be above that upper trend line. And all of the models that we've seen over the years will just be kind of like, man, what happened? And the very simple answer is the ceiling turned into the floor. And that's what I'm looking for. The ceiling on this Bitcoin chart to turn into the floor. And this isn't a short-term thing. This is a very strong potential. It's not even this cycle thing. I will say this. We could get a hint of it, meaning Bitcoin, for the first time, might break above that line. That's not to say it won't fall below again, but that could be a massive indicator if Bitcoin breaks above that line this cycle. And we have targets to the upside closer to $300,000 for this cycle. And we're talking actual structure targets, not having anything to do with narratives. We have a inverse head and shoulders that has a target to the upside close to 300,000. So we could see Bitcoin break the ceiling. And that could be the first indicator that that ceiling is going to turn into the floor. So this is like an ongoing thing for me. I'm going to be adding to it, but I wanted to put this out there because this is something I'm kind of going through on my own as I look at all of these charts and I continue to track these cycles. So let me know your thoughts, everybody. And by the way, I have adoption acceleration triggers right around the Bitcoin halving, because as we know, the halving is a supply shock moment for Bitcoin every 4 years as Bitcoin becomes more scarce through all of these things. So that is going to be sprinkled onto this chart as well as we continue forward. So these are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please subscribe, turn notifications on, hit that like button. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.